Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take our attention and focus it on the Drake Herald. Now this is a small ship from Drake. It is a data running, information broker, hacking vessel, and it is a solo ship, which is pretty nice. It's nice to have a few solo ships in and around with different professions, so I like that aspect. Aesthetically, it took me a while to warm up to this ship, but the more time I spent with it, the cooler I feel it becomes. You have to spend some time with it, get used to how it looks, and it sort of ingratiates itself to you. It has some very unique features. Although there isn't much to do with this ship in the game at the moment, when its features come online and we get the data running and the hacking and all of that good stuff, I think the Herald would be a very good option for anyone that wants to break into data running as an individual. I think it's a great starting point. It's only roughly a million alpha UEC in game, so it's not going to take a lot to grind, and it'd be fairly accessible to every player in and around the verse. So it has some benefits, the Drake Herald. The Drake Herald is a small armoured ship designed to safely get information from point A to point B, featuring a powerful central engine for high-speed transit and generating the power needed for the effective data encryption containment, advanced encryption software, and an armoured computer core. The Herald is unique among personal spacecraft in that it is designed to be easily cleaned when in danger of capture. That means you can wipe all the data within the ship. That's the assumption I'm making there. So that's pretty cool. So imagine you've been cornered by pirates and you're carrying sensitive data. You're able to just press a button, I'm assuming, an emergency button that will wipe and cleanse the ship of all that important information. Utilising a combination of powerful dual main thrusters mounted on its sleek frame and the industry gold standard Tarsus Leaper jump drive, the Herald is built to move your data faster than ever before, and equally important, more reliably. If that weren't enough, the Herald is constructed with advanced electronic security at its core. From its secure release external data storage pods, advanced rated EMP shielding, and backup power systems, you can be sure that we at FTL Courier Service value protecting your data as much as you do. So that's another aspect of this ship that I was completely unaware of, and another thing that makes it very, very unique is that it is in fact EMP resistant. I'm not going to say proof, I am going to say resistant, which is extremely important when you're trying to travel with the data you've acquired to make money, right? You might be trying to sell information to an information broker. The last thing you want is to get EMP'd, and then that wipes all of that data off of your ship, all that time and effort you've spent in trying to make money by getting EMP'd. So that is a very, very nice feature to have on board a ship, and apparently the Drake Herald has it, so that was very surprising to me. So what features will this ship get once further down the line and that game loop enters the verse? Well, the Herald will be equipped with the following features. It will have a armoured computer core. The computer core will run on a dedicated server that can only be accessed from the secure control terminal inside the ship. This will eliminate the threat of remote hacking. Smart broadcast array. The SATA M6A1 high-power broadcast array would allow for long-range data transmission for both communication and emergency purposes. Data storage pods. All data placed inside the upcoming data storage pod will undergo a proprietary encryption algorithm. With the loading access ports, the data storage pods will be detached from the ship for delivery or emergency. And of course the EMP protection. The Herald will be equipped with the advanced rated EMP shielding and backup power systems to avoid total power loss in an EMP blast. Very nice features to be found on the Herald. So let's briefly touch on some of the statistics for the Herald. It's a medium data runner, it has a crew capacity of 1. To buy in game it will cost you 1,181,100 alpha UEC. Specifications: length 23.5 meters, width 12.5 meters. It has a height of 9 meters. Combat speed is 174 meters per second, and its max speed is 1,361 meters per second. So this thing really does shift like nothing else. So the Drake Herald will use its speed and its EMP protection to keep that data secure. It does come with a very basic armament that you're not going to get into too many combat scenarios, or I wouldn't recommend it, but there's enough there to sort of get into a little bout maybe, and then GTFO. You don't want to be hanging around too often. We will cover the weapons and components later on as we progress through the video. Then of course we have these two absolutely diabolical engines located on the back of this ship, and it looks like Drake just went, okay, let's make two massive engines and then strap a cockpit to it. And that's kind of the end result. Now there is another aspect to this ship which makes it quite unique, and that is the fact that this is an armoured ship, and this is from Drake. Drake do not believe in armour. They rely heavily on their shields for protection. And the fact that they have decided to armour the Herald is just another tick in the box for that added security of that data. So clearly they've built a ship and are very serious about selling this to the public so that people can protect and make a living of data running. So that's a very unique characteristic from Drake, to have a ship with armour. So we have the armour, the EMP protection, and of course those two engines propelling us to 1,361 meters per second. So fairly impressive. This ship does come equipped with a size 1 jump drive. It has two size 1 fuel intakes and two size 1 fuel tanks, and the quantum fuel tank for the Herald is also a size 1. Also comes equipped with one size 1 radar and one size 1 computer. Now, I do think you will have to be fairly careful with how you use this ship, because I believe it's going to have fairly limited range. I think you might be restricted to one system. It does have the jump drive, so you will be able to visit other systems, but fuel is something you will need to keep an eye on, because I think it's paramount that you don't overextend and find yourself stranded. With refueling being added to the game, hopefully we see a lot more Geminis in and around the verse, and when we get Pyro, which is 4 times the size of Stanton, refueling could be very crucial to this ship. It will have limited range, so that's something to think about. But I think in the confines of one particular system, you could easily make a very impressive living off data running, as long as you're careful with your fuel. Short range, but it sounds awesome. I think we can all agree that those engines are pretty awesome. I love the sort of flaming burnout effect we get from those with the tints of purple, and of course they do sound extremely powerful, extremely loud, and I really enjoy hitting that shift key and putting this thing into overdrive, because it is super cool. In terms of handling, let's talk about handling. So actually it's not too bad. It's not particularly aerodynamic, and it does use those engines very well to push its way through atmosphere. It's actually quite nice to fly. I quite enjoy it. The more I fly the ship, the more I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a good little package, the Herald. Let's now talk about the weapons and components. Okay, so these are the components and weapon systems you will find on a stock Drake Herald. So as you can see, we have a gimbaled size 2, and that's the Scorpion, located on the chin, and then we have the two weapon systems on the wings. So we can swap that out for a size 3 if you wanted to. We can also swap out these two gimbaled size 1s and have two fixed size 2 on the Herald, for example, so we could go all gimbaled. Gives us that extra firepower. It's nimble enough that I'm happy to go all fixed, and it does increase the DPS, so it is respectable in terms of weapon systems. You might want to experiment, really. And then we have the missile racks. We have 8 missiles on board. It comes with 8 task force 1s. I would swap these for the arrows because they just do more DPS. So we can swap these out, and again you could tailor it to your needs. It's not really a combat ship, but it does come with an actually quite respectable basic loadout. Then we have the shimmers for our shields, which are 2 size 1s. I would almost certainly swap these for probably the FR66s to give us that little bit of a higher health pool when it comes to ship integrity and trying to protect our precious data. Power plant, we have a slipstream. I would almost certainly put the JS300 in there. Maybe some others, maybe an industrial of some kind. I haven't really experimented enough with this ship. We have 2 coolers, which are the heat safes. I think these are going to be important. for that EMP protection and keeping all the onboard systems nice and cool, the data running and stuff. We're not entirely sure how consuming and hot the systems on board the Herald are going to run. Running those big SATA arrays could be quite costly in terms of power draw and heat. And then I would swap the QT drive for an Atlas. That's my go-to. This ship will struggle a little bit with range, so the Atlas is a good all-rounder. It's normally my go-to for ships of this size, and that will give us the range to go from planet to planet, moon to moon in a particular system, and give us the data that we require. So there we go, guys. That is the onboard components. Although this ship doesn't have many uses right now in game, I do think that it has an edge in data running. You know, it's been designed from the ground up to do that, and I think as a cheap ship to buy in game for a solo player, this is a very viable option, especially with the features that can be found on the Herald. So what we'll do now, guys, of course, is transition into the interior of the ship. So once on board the Drake Herald, you're greeted by the typical Drake design. Very bare bones, nothing fancy in here, all very clean, very basic, but I enjoy the Drake ships, a lot of people do, and it's that sort of bare bones approach which adds a certain amount of charm. Now there are plenty of electronic systems found on this ship, which makes sense. You're going to need these components and variable servers and blade points and God knows what else they might include in the ship design when we get those features online. But as you can see, it has its own sort of command center. This is where you're going to sit and operate the various scanning arrays and try and pinch that data, transfer data, hacking to certain mainframes and all of that good stuff. And it looks very cool, very sci-fi, and I cannot wait to sit in this seat and do some stealing of data. It's going to be very interesting to see how that game loop develops. As you can see, there's also a bed at the back so you can log out, which is an excellent touch. There's also onboard amenities to be found, i.e. a toilet and a sink. There is no shoilet, so try not to get dirty because you won't be able to cleanse yourself. But it's nice that they've incorporated that into a ship that really is quite compact. Although it is fairly cramped in here, I think there's just about enough room to live comfortably. I don't think you'll be living on it for long periods of time, but for those short, very quick journeys, courtesy of the engine, I think it's comfortable enough. We have a toilet, the sink, the bed, enough room to move around without feeling a little bit claustrophobic. Also, the benefit is any damage that you take, you should be able to easily reach certain areas of the ship to make repairs, replace components, all of that good stuff. Be interesting to see what happens when CIG give this ship its gold pass, where those components are going to be placed and how you're going to get to them will be quite interesting. As you can see here, we have the sink and just to the left the toilet, but we'll have a closer look once we do the physical tour of the ship. So I'm actually quite impressed with the interior. It's very nice and easy to operate. I think that's the vibe I get from the internals of the Drake Herald. So the Herald does have quite a lot of features. I think it's a little bit underestimated, and I think that's because there's not a lot to do with it in game now. You can still do light bounty hunting and basic box runs and bunker busting in it, so there are still loops available to the ship to enjoy, but I think it's a little bit underestimated. And when these data running features come online, I really do feel that the Herald will begin to shine in that area, specifically because it is packing a lot of features for a low price and for a solo player. Great selling points in my opinion. And with most things in Star Citizen, we will just have to wait and see how it pans out for the Drake Herald. Okay, let's now begin our external tour of the ship, followed by an internal tour of the ship. And we're on Microtech, and it's glorious day, lovely weather. So we've parked it on a hill, random hill, and we'll take a quick look externally, internally, and take a look at this ship in a bit more detail. So moving around to the front, we can see we have the weapon system under the chin of the cockpit with 2 spotlights, has a tricycle landing gear. Very unique body shape this ship has. You can see the missiles are in the intakes there. Just below those intakes you will note these are the data pods. Now these are designed to pop off and you can go deliver the data that you've acquired. We have the arrays tucked away into the body, so when they're not in use they're very useful for helping your aerodynamics. Making our way round the rear of this ship, we have these large intakes feeding those beastie engines, which are double stacked. We have the larger one on top and then the smaller one at the bottom. So speed is a non-issue because these engines are phenomenal and they look really great. The animation when they're in flight and they're working, and the afterburners on, very potent, very cool, like a burnout blue flame effect we get from these engines, again relying on speed as one of its major defenses. Moving around to the other side, then we have the very small sort of wings with the 2 size 1 gimbaled on there, which I would almost certainly swap for fixed weapons of a size 2 caliber. And again we have the 2 more SATA array dishes currently tucked away, and then again we have some more data pods here. This is where we will be able to take these off, I believe, and deliver that information to our information broker and get all that lovely jubbly cash into your wallet. So that's really cool. And then we come to the entry point. One entry point, and it is via this door. Ladder pops down and in we get, and straight away we're greeted by the mini command center, various servers, some air conditioning, all that good stuff. There is like a weapon rack there, I don't think it's going to hold armor, but it doesn't look like it's going to hold weapons either. Let's jump in the seat. So this is where we're going to be doing all of our busy work, attaining this data. Obviously it has no function in game yet, although we can operate the ship shields and various power systems, but at a later date we will be transferring, stealing and listening in on various data points around the verse. It's going to be pretty cool. It's actually really well laid out, very easy to read, so when we do get that opportunity to steal data, it's going to be fairly simple and not too complicated. I wonder what some of these panels might end up doing, if they're going to have a function. We'll have to wait and see, but even the lights look fantastic. The lighting in general in here is very nice. You get a lot of light from the cockpit. As we move towards the rear, then we have the toilet. Very basic. It does what you need it to do, so nothing too important to talk about. We have the sink right next to it, but it does look disgusting, doesn't it? It makes me, the pilot, look like a slob, like, you know, dude, clean your toilet. But other than that, it's very nice in here, nicely lit. So many onboard systems, and I will be surprised if CIG find a way to incorporate all of that. Where the components are going to go, it will also be quite interesting. There's something here that says pool, not sure what that does. Just above the bed, I'm hoping that's going to be like a storage bin, because there's no cooking facilities on board this ship, so it would be nice to maybe store some food or something like that. Maybe they could turn that into a fridge or something, who knows. We have a vent right by the headboard, toilet right next to the bed. Well, you're going to be responsible for that, so we'll gloss over that. Then we have the SATA release, so I'm not entirely sure if you hit that button and then the dishes extend. Maybe we can do that from the cockpit. We have that weapon rack there, which I think won't hold many weapons. You're not going to need 4, that's for sure. Emergency supplies and some other boxes. Very uncompromising Drake ships, very sort of in your face. Here's some pipes, get over it. And then of course that brings us to the bridge cockpit flight area. We'll jump in the seat like so. Very quick animation, spins you around, throws you into the cockpit head first, and of course we have the wonderful Drake MFDs, which I really enjoy. Everything is always very easy to read, easy to reach, and it is a HOTAS system as well that this ship uses. Visibility is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with the visibility. The struts are not intrusive in any way whatsoever. So it's a very good ship, I think, and I cannot wait to see how it performs when the data running features are implemented to the game. I think the Herald will really begin to shine, especially for that solo player. Easy to obtain, easy to operate, low running costs. It's going to be a great ship, and I think it's got tons of potential, but time will tell. So there we go, guys. That was my video on the Drake Herald. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you know what buttons to press, and I of course will have more Star Citizen content en route to your location very soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Cheers.